So the Korean entertainment world is shaken again, not because of the incredible comeback, nor because of the leaked secret project. This time, the issue comes from a much deeper source: personal relationships, emotions that have been kept clean, and a confession that was never imagined to come from one of BTS's own members. Kim Taehyung, better known by his stage name V, has finally opened up about Jungkook. But not just any ordinary statement. This is not a sweet line on stage or a light joke while live. This is an explosion. A vibe that shook the foundations of ARMY fandom. And more than anything, it's shocking. Taehyung was never known as a person who easily indulged in conflict. He is artistic, mysterious, and often chooses silence when internal issues wriggle to the surface. However, this time he spoke. And instead of just talking, he called for something that made the public and fans wonder, what is really going on behind the golden wall called BTS? It all started with an exclusive interview conducted behind closed doors with a well-known Japanese media. The media did not intend to publish the full interview. However, like a time bomb, pieces of the tape leaked. And the contents? Hotter than lava, sharper than a sword. In the 2-minute video, Taehyung's voice is clearly heard saying, "Sometimes, the closest person hurts the most." And I learned that in the most bitter way. That sentence immediately made netizens and media around the world ask, is he talking about Jungkook? Speculation is rampant. The next piece of sound just adds fuel to the fire. I love him, but I'm sick of it too. Maybe it's time to stop forcing something that is no longer real. What does that mean? Is it about their friendship that so far looks harmonious? Is this about a long-buried personal conflict? The public was confused, shaken, and could not stop speculating. Many refused to believe. Taehyung and Jungkook are known as a strong duo among BTS members, with chemistry often dubbed as Taekook, icons of an almost sibling closeness. But with this statement, everything is like changed. The world seems to be torn between those who believe this is just an ordinary misunderstanding and those who begin to dig deeper, looking for traces of the rift that may have existed all this time, along with the viral footage. An old upload from Jungkook came back to the surface. Speaking on Weverse Live a few months ago, Jungkook said, "Sometimes I feel alone, even though I'm surrounded by a lot of people." At that time, not many people considered that sentence as something deep. But now, the context changes drastically. Netizens began to associate the two. They begin to trace the interaction of the two, which now looks awkward. In the past, Jungkook and Taehyung often performed live together, laughed together on variety shows, and even shared adorable hugs and looks. But lately, there is a distance that is beginning to be felt. No live together in recent months. No interaction on social media. And now, coupled with Taehyung's emotional statement, it all feels like pieces of a puzzle that are finally starting to find their place. But the biggest shock was the last part of the recording. In a voice that sounded like he was holding back anger and hurt, Taehyung said, "I can forgive many things, but betrayal is not one of them." Betrayal? The word bounces all over the virtual universe. What happened between Taehyung and Jungkook? Is it really about a fractured friendship? Or is there something deeper, more personal, more secret? Several former BTS staffers who did not want to be named began to speak out on anonymous forums. He said, "There's been a lot of tension between them over the last year, but everyone was asked to be silent. HYB doesn't want the media to smell internal conflict. They were once even banned from sitting next to each other at international press conferences." This statement is like lighting a long-established ember. Meanwhile, HYB has not yet given any official clarification. As usual, the agency chose silence in the midst of the storm. However, the public knows their silence is not without reason. Behind that silence, there must be something big going on. Something that may be too sensitive, too personal, or too dangerous to open to the public. The ARMY was divided. Some defended Taehyung and judged that he was just spilling emotions that had been suppressed for too long. They call it courage and honesty. But others were disappointed, feeling Jungkook was being sacrificed in a drama that was not necessarily true. Why should it be revealed now, when everyone is waiting for their reunion after enlistment? A disappointed fan wrote on Twitter, "What makes things even more complicated is Jungkook's own response. Instead of refuting or clarifying, he made an even more disturbing post, a photo of his childhood with a boy who Taehyung allegedly had, with the caption, 'All these memories, it turns out, are never enough.'" Silence. The world is silent. Fans immediately burst into tears. Some even say they feel like they are witnessing the divorce of two brothers they love. Not because of a courtship scandal, not because of career issues, but because of broken hearts and bonds that slowly collapse. But behind all this, a much bigger question arises. Is this just the surface of something much deeper? Is this the beginning of a split that has been covered with smiles in front of the cameras? Or is this HYB's grand strategy to sway public opinion, steer the narrative ahead of a planned comeback or a secret project that is still being closely kept secret? And even more curious, who exactly betrayed whom? Not because of the late summer wind, not because of the gray sky either. But for one thing, the world is beginning to realize that the relationship of two of K-pop's biggest icons, Kim Taehyung and Jungkook, may no longer be what it used to be. In fact, for the first time in more than a decade, the word breakup sounds no longer as a joke or cheap speculation, but rather as a real possibility. Too real. Armies around the world, from Indonesia to Iceland, from Brazil to Berlin, began to feel unusual tension. Group chat is full of theories. Big fan sites cancel their upload schedules. Even some big accounts that had only discussed BTS's activities began to change their tone to investigative, as if they suddenly turned into crime reporters, trying to find who started this wound first. And in the midst of that storm, another name suddenly appeared: Park Jimin. Yes, Jimin. A figure known as a mediator among the members, Taehyung's best friend since trainee days, and one of the people who is emotionally very close to Jungkook. Many fans noticed that in recent months, Jimin seemed more moody. It rarely appears on live. When he appeared on the radio show, his expression was calmer, but his eyes were empty. No more Jimin's typical laugh that can melt anyone's heart. And now, the public is wondering, did Jimin know about this conflict? Or even further, is it involved? A fan account known for its access to information from the inner circle of the Korean entertainment industry, at K-Pop Whispers, wrote a long tweet that went viral in minutes. If you think this is just a trivial argument, you are very wrong. It's not about who is right or wrong. It's about trust being destroyed. About a contract that was not written between brothers, but was violated. Jungkook kept something. Taehyung knows. And Jimin. Jimin tried to save everything, but it was too late. Thousands of comments came in. Many panicked. Much is speculated. But one comment got the most attention. Is this related to Jungkook's solo plan that made Taehyung feel betrayed? The sentence quickly ignited a new theory. A few months ago, Jungkook announced that he would be pursuing solo international projects more seriously. He even lived in the United States for almost 2 months, and reportedly, he worked with a global production team that was not directly arranged by HYB. At that time, everyone thought this was an independent move that was fully supported by the members. But after Taehyung's emotional statement, the narrative changed. Now the public is wondering, did Jungkook step in alone, without the blessing, even without the knowledge of the other members? An anonymous source from the Korean music industry said in an article that was later revealed that Taehyung once felt lied to.